we are coming to you live from Cape Town in the province of the Western Cape. What I can tell you though is that we visited a few registration centers. From yesterday we went to Khayelitsha, after that we went to Misha's Plain and Danun. What I can tell you is that there's a common problem and concern when it comes to talking to the residents of these respective areas. We are told that the residents are concerned by the issue of unemployment, the issue of crime. There's that relationship when it comes to these communities. Now we are at a very special school coming from Lavender Hill. It's a primary school. In fact, when we got here, Tabiso, we've already had a gunshot because this area is a gang-infested area and much violence that is taking place here. And it becomes a concern how young children, because it's a primary school that attend to this primary school, there's a high wall, Tabiso, if my VJ, Lakitsolo, can pen around so that you can see this wall that I'm talking about. It's meant to protect children that are attending in this primary school, Lavender primary school, to make sure that they don't get affected by the gang violence that takes place in this area. We're also told that there's a general problem of drug trafficking in this particular area. But to get a better sense of this area, we are joined by the provincial electoral officer from the IEC, that is Michael Hendricks. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. If we can talk about the violence in this area and how it might be affecting your work as the Independent Electoral Commission.
Look, the sad reality, in fact, it's a shameful reality, especially within our metro and in our province, that you have these high levels of gang violence and criminal activity that impacts on the communities each and every day. You know, as the IEC, we do not operate in a vacuum, and we are very much aware of the lived reality of people in parts of Cape Town, where you have to have, as you mentioned, this high wall, a concrete wall around the whole school, including the sporting facilities, simply to keep the bullets out. So you have in one part of the city, schools getting in funds to have tracks and clubhouses and all kind of nice things. And on the other hand, you have a school like this that had to go out and get donations to build a concrete wall high enough to keep bullets out. I think that is the sad reality for us. And this is unfortunately also the situation that voters find themselves when they have to come and vote. For our elections. And we work very closely as the IEC with the police to ensure that our voters and our staff are safe, not only on election day, but even in the run-up to the elections.
In terms of, you mentioned that you work quite closely with different stakeholders from government. How would you draw up that relationship in terms of it working and making sure that potential voters and voters are kept safe?
Yeah. So, for example, we, as the IEC, we co-chair the priority committee of the Prof Joints. The Prof Joints is led by the South African Police Service, and on that Prof Joints, you'll have local law enforcement like the Metro, you'll have Home Affairs, you'll have a lot of other agencies and departments there, and the idea there is to coordinate our response, firstly by getting in the correct information, verify that information, and then for SABC-led operations to determine what are your high risk, low risk, and then they make their plans accordingly. Unfortunately, obviously, we're not allowed to actually indicate where are the areas because that is an operational matter. But so far we've been working very well with the SABC. But as you know, the sad reality is that the violence is a daily occurrence. As you said, I mean, we were here, and you can even hear the gunshots. And I mean, that is ridiculously shameful that our kids have to grow up in a situation like that.
I know it's still early days to talk numbers because you still have to consolidate your numbers here. But in terms of the flow, are you satisfied? Are you happy as the Commission?
Yes. No. Overall, look, we expected that, because the first registration was where the main drive would be, and the second one is really to give those who missed that opportunity the chance. We'll be able to collate the information and publish by tomorrow, because remember, it's not only station visits, it's also online registration that is going on continuously as well. So by tomorrow we'll be able to get a better picture of the actual numbers involved.
Any message to South Africans that have not yet registered at this point?
Please come out and vote. Make a difference. Your vote is your voice. And the only way that you're going to make change, or if you're happy with the situation, reinforce that particular engagements. But the only way you're going to actually make a difference is by voting. You can have your comments on social media. You can talk around and sit around at the braais and talk a lot. But that doesn't make an actual difference. You can choose your vote, your ward representative, and your ward representative will then represent you in the council where decisions are made about the budget, which plans, which areas, etc., etc., etc. So it's important that our people please not lose this opportunity, and you need to register. Because if you're not registered, you cannot vote. It's as simple as that. So please come out and vote and register, please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There you have it, Thabiso, the Commission urging South Africans that they still have a few hours to come out and register to vote so that one doesn't get disappointed on the 4th of November when the time comes and they miss out in that opportunity, having to make their voices heard. But that happens in a very awkward situation, Thabiso, if I may call it that, because of the gang violence, and the area is gang infested, but he does tell us that they work together quite well with the different stakeholders of government in making sure that the voters are going to be kept safely, and the security is actually ensured of the South Africans and the voters. So that was Michael Hendricks, the electoral officer provincially of the IEC. So that's for now, Thabiso, is that from us here in Lavender Hill from Cape Town.